Coworking, an exciting dive into the business deep for extroverts and rather painful out of the comfort zone plunge for more introverted souls. But no matter which side you're on, finding the right balance in networking can be quite tough, especially with everyone's busy schedules. So we end up sometimes trying to connect with so many people that each conversation feels shallow, just like a splash in a pond. On the other hand, we sometimes try to catch this one big fish and we spend so much time and energy on it that there's virtually no time for anyone else. So, how to improve these networking approaches and how to find the right balance so that the connections are really meaningful? That's something that I would like to explore today using a specific example of Coffideas. Welcome to Tech Notes, where we take journeys through the business galaxies. Today, I'll be traveling with Dominique Goss, founder of Invedo Group and a data evangelist. Hi, Dominique. It's great to have you here again.
Hi, Natalia.
So we already had a chance to record one podcast episode, and we talked about data and how to extract value from it and actually how to use it. And in our conversation, we came to the conclusion that data and AI tools, and more generally speaking, software, is here to help us have more time and be more humane in the process. A quote that I remembered, and I'd like to take a step further by saying that software is here to make our lives easier. Of course, only if we use it right. So my question here is how to ensure that the software solves the real life problems, because otherwise it doesn't make sense, right? So how to make sure that we as the IT industry create solutions with applications to the real life problems, not add more problems and not create something artificial. What's the thought process here in your case?
I think from the big picture perspective, from the epic perspective, and the key values is that we have to remember that building software, solution, application, even AI, it should be built around us, around our work, our processes, how we work, how we want to work, and to become a tool that help us in each day in the work, not in the opposite perspective. Like the tool that is built for us, that we have to do a lot of work in the hope that in the future, the software, the solution will help us. It's not the best approach.
Yeah, it's kind of like reverse, right?
Yeah.
Building solution first and then finding a problem to solve. I used to work for an angel investor, and sometimes some ideas kind of look this way. So there were startups saying, I have this great idea, but there is no market for it yet. So what are you going to do with your idea, right? It's just like a lot of work wasted for building a solution that is not really needed or already exists, or it just makes things more complicated because some applications can actually do that.
Yeah.
So with this in mind, I would like to discuss the solution that I already kind of teased, Coffideas, because that's something connected to networking, and that's the topic of today's episode. So could you tell us a little bit more about this application? Let's start from what it is, and then I would love to hear how it became to be and what kind of problems it solves.
It's the application that is connected with networking. It's connected with talking. So one of the most common things that we as the humans do, but from the different perspective, it's one of the hardest thing to do. How to talk each other, how to talk and listen, how to get together to the conclusion, to the problem, or to the solution. And around that, and around also that when very often we used to go to any kind of conference, event, and so on, the networking doesn't work so good, or didn't exactly work so good. I mean, in that perspective that when you, for example, you are a more introvert, you go for the network, for the event, and of course you already know that you have to go out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You have to go meet new people find new ideas, and talk. So when you go to this kind of event, very often you come with the goal, I will talk with people. I will create new connection. And very often, from general point of view, when we are introvert, you met first person in the front of a coffee machine.
Yeah.
And very often you will like to stay with this person to the end of this event because you already put so much effort.
Yeah, to talk to this person, to come to the event. Yeah.
Exactly, and to come out from your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned in the intro, like when of course you are from different perspective, you are extrovert, you are easygoing, you very easy talk with different kind of person you meet, but it's hard to you, it's not so easy to dive deep into. And when we connected this, and also then when during any kind of events, there are speed days or any kind of networking, very often the person in the worst can want to sell you something and you don't want to buy. And if you say, I don't want to buy, I'm only finding new ideas, meeting person, looking something what will be interesting for me, on the other side, very often the person doesn't listen.
Yeah.
And that was the starting point. And then we met with Waldek Olbrich, when he see the same perspective from business case, from brainstorm meetings, from project planning. And we connected the perspective. And from this problem come the Coffideas, the solution, how we can network, how we can brainstorm together, how we can create meaningful connections.
That's great. I mean, I totally agree that networking is a tough thing to do. It's difficult to find balance. It takes a lot of work, especially for the introverts, and it does take a lot of work for extroverts too, because like their connections are numerous, but usually very, very shallow. So on both sides, it's quite difficult to actually extract value. Like make sure that this networking is not a wasted time. It actually creates maybe new ideas. It's not about sales, really, right? It's more about exchanging the experiences and making sure that new connections can actually bring something new to life. So that's a big problem that can be actually solved. So great that this application exists, and we know why it exists right now. So could you give us a little bit more insight of how it works? What are the rules?
What are the rules? And of course, it's so simple from one perspective. It's built around 15 minutes. Like you mentioned about networking and about our lives in the big matter, we don't have so much time. There's a lot of things already happening around. So we decided that if first approach for assumption should be the session should be built around 15 minutes to make it condense and to make it worthy. And from the how it really look like, and then I will come what it really brings. It starts very often with very short 3 minutes intro, like what are the key values, like sharing is caring, like say yes and not say yes but. This few rules and more helps to get on the ground for everyone that is during this meeting, because of course Coffideas is an app, but from my perspective it's more like a framework, like a method, where the app is only 20%.
That's interesting.
And why? Because especially when we are in the area of talking about relationship, very often when we think about the phone, we see the perspective that someone grabbed the phone during the meeting, even during the dinner in the restaurant, and his phones are far, far away. So, okay, if time is very expensive today, and if the phones are something that is really easy pull us outside the moment,
they grab attention.
how we can twist it that. And we decided let's make that the phone will help people to meet, help people to talk about the problem. And after this first 3 minutes intro, we ask the attendees to put the name, put the problem. It could be business problem, it could be personal problem, to the app, they don't have to, but most of them do it. And the one very important thing is that they have to check which kind of category they are filtered. It's like, for example, it could be a business categories like growth department, like sales, like production, like development, or it could be more like sports, like
Okay, something lighter, less
painting, and
casual.
so on.
Yeah.
And what is important, these categories are used to use the diversity as the powerful tool here. Like where all the attendees fill the form, we press the very sophisticated red button with very sophisticated algorithm behind, and we divide the group, the people in the groups of 4.
All right.
And there the 15 minutes starts. Like there is one person is selected with the problem, and the rest 3 are selected with the categories from different perspectives to make sure that in this virtual table, coffee table of 4, they will meet 4 different person, different perspective, different experience, to try to solve one problem. The problem that comes from one of these 4 person.
That's great, especially when you mention different perspectives, because what we tend to do is kind of close ourselves in our bubble, information bubble and social bubble, and
Yeah.
that's something that other applications help us with, right? Not giving specific names, but you know what I'm talking about. So meeting other perspectives can be sometimes challenging, right? But it's most valuable because then we don't have to think outside of the box ourselves. We just see, the world outside of our box, outside of our bubble, from someone else's perspective. So I think that's like a very, very important value from this app that can be created.
We did a lot of events already, and
Yeah.
there is very often the question, okay, we are in the business perspective, so it's a growth sales department, this is
Yeah.
why do you put also the movies, the music, and the sports?
So people wonder.
How it's connected. And it's very answer, we are of course in the work, but every one of us do different stuff, different experience. If you play a piano in even 10 years ago, it's still here. So it brings you the perspective. And when their first 15 minutes starts, the 2 minutes it's to describe the problem better,
Okay, yeah.
to ask about the problem, or if this let's say that Ola is the first person in the group, and it's Ola problems.
Okay, yeah.
Problem. So of course, Ola could describe the problem better, and of course the rest person will ask about the problem, and then it's 11 minutes the discussion, and there's the moment that everyone brings his perspective. And from the business perspective, it's the business perspective, or from the sport. And very often, suddenly it's a business case. But when I do this in my sport training, I heard or tried this, and that suddenly the perspective opens. And of course, there's last 2 minutes. There are takeaway, the summary moment, that every one of these 4 is saying what I'm taking away from this short 15-minute session.
That sounds amazing. I mean, when you talk about 15 minutes, on one hand, it sounds like a lot of time. It's especially in today's busy world.
Yeah.
But then 15 minutes to solve a problem or 15 minutes to get new ideas, it goes just like that. Because when I'm, for example, deep into my creative work and I try to solve a problem or try to create something new, 15 minutes is nothing. Because it just like I start thinking about something and then I get sideways and try to explore different areas on my own, right? And 15 minutes just pass like that. And you say that there are only 11 minutes to discuss the problem, and then the last 2 minutes are for the summary to say what people take away. And there's already like a suggestion that people within those 11 minutes of discussion, they have enough time to actually take away something very, very valuable. So I'm really curious how it works.
It works because the people are present here at the moment. So 11 minutes when you are in full focus to other person, when you listen what they are saying, and very often you want to be helpful, and then it's a lot of insights. Very often when the 15 minutes in total, the session ends, the people say, I have so many points, I have so many inspiration that I will process it for 1 week now.
Wow. Only from those 15 minutes of talk, 1 week of thinking. That's
Because every one of them
great.
are present here.
Yeah.
The phone is still there because it's showing how many minutes left, but there's no notification. No one even are thinking about taking the phone and looking into the social media, for example, because you are sitting in the coffee table with three other person in very short matter of space. So you want to be fair. You want to
You
be
want to be present.
present.
That's really amazing because well the phones are designed right now to distract us. The applications are designed to distract us, and you're talking about an application that is designed to bring people into the moment and try to make them focus on what they are talking about. So that's a totally different approach.
Even it starts with a very simple game that everyone enjoys. Like I mentioned before that
Yeah.
when we start, everyone puts a name and the role,
Yes.
the problem, or choose the categories. And when we press the red button, the sophisticated one, of course, the screens totally change. There's no form anymore. There is
Okay.
a red ball or green book or orange dog. And what you have to do, you have to take your phone, flip it away, like the screen outside you, and find the rest free person with the same icon, the same sign, and the same color. And imagine what happened. People raise the phone and who have also the red ball?
Yeah.
And that's the starting moment when everyone starts to play the game, start to be present, and then of course they meet and start this 15 minute.
That's a
15
fun
minutes. Sorry.
way. That's a fun way to start and like group people because normally it's by numbers, for example, right? So it's not very much fun. But you're describing something that I know from team building events, and that's a part of like a team building before the discussion begins. And I think it sounds like a good way to kind of break this first ice because we're not just numbers and awkwardly standing in silence because we were assigned to the same group. They
Yeah.
actually have to find the other members of the group and in a fun way.
And also it's very important. I, you, and every one of us really like our names.
Yeah, of course, it's the most beautiful sound in the whole world because that's what we hear from when we are babies, right?
Definitely. So also the red ball, the green dog, whatever, there are also the names. So when you are flipping your screen and looking for the rest-free person with the same color, the same icon, you also know the names. So are you
Already.
Ola? Are you Tomek? Are you John?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
already ice-breaking moment.
I like it. It sounds very fun. But you already started describing that there were other events, like there were some events. The application has been put in practice. So, what is the feedback that you got from people? How do they like it?
First is that the 15 minutes, it's not enough.
Oh,
We want more, 20, half hour. And what we say there, it's the 15 minutes, it's a starting point. You can still talk each other after the session.
all
You
right. Yeah.
just, from one session, very often we do one 15-minute session, 2 minutes break to grab another cup of coffee, and next 15 minutes. Of course, the second session, you meet different person, different perspectives, different problem you want to try to solve together. And then even and after when we finish after these two sessions,
Yeah.
you can still network. You already meet 8 person. You
That's
get
great.
connection.
You know the names.
You know the problems, you know the perspective. You, even often if you, it's not my problem I try to solve. For example, I was the person, one of the three. Very often I said something that already resonate with the second person, and after this 15-minute session, can you say it more about it? It very often happened. What the most I was surprised about, I strongly believe that the idea, the coffee ideas, this kind of meetings will bring people because they will have chance to find solution to their problem. So I get the problem, I came to this kind of meeting, I meet with different perspective, and I will be happy and glad that I get ideas or solution to my problems. And after first meeting, it was far away, I mean,
Yeah.
long ago, a lot of months. I was surprised. We were surprised that the most important feeling that people mention about is, I'm so happy that my perspective, my knowledge, my experience is useful. I
Oh,
have
so the other
someone
way
else.
around.
So the
Yeah.
social perspective that my knowledge, or I can do something, or even share the knowledge that is really important and helpful for the other person.
Okay, so it's not about solving your own problems, but it's just being helpful for someone
Exactly.
else.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I think it's like a deep, deep feeling and deep need for a lot of people to
Yeah,
be
it is.
helpful, to use the business perspective or like any other right perspective. You mentioned that already. Put it to use and see that other people are like, oh, yeah, that's great. I got inspired.
And from experience, like in previous meetings, previous session, for example, we did for students.
Okay, yeah.
And it was, it didn't matter whether it was first year or even fourth year or the students, they said, we didn't know each other. Imagine they are 3 years at the studies, at the same
Okay.
classes.
Wow.
And after this session, they say, I didn't know about it. Now I think that I really know you better. And when we did this for example, in a big company where there are, it's a global company, but this meeting was about 150 engineers, and there's a lot of feedbacks. One engineer said that I already worked skill 15 years in this organization,
That's a lot of
and I
time.
didn't know so many people until today, until this session.
That's
Or I
really
looking to solve this problem for 6 months,
yeah.
and during this 15-minute session, after the first 30 minutes of this session, one of my colleagues grabbed a phone and called his colleague that already solved this problem 2 years ago.
That's great.
Yeah,
Wow. That's great. And it all comes just because there is this space to connect, to talk. It's
to be
to
present.
be present. Yeah. That's really cool. Because I think that this problem solving is sometimes it seems like a very impossible task, right? Because somebody is presented with a problem and like, okay, so you sit down and try to solve this.
Yeah.
And then we oftentimes feel being left alone. Try to maybe Google something, try to ask ChatGPT, but there is only as much knowledge on the internet as there is, right? So sometimes we don't even know what kind of questions to ask, right? And those kind of conversations with other people who maybe faced similar problem, maybe solved it as you mentioned, they can be very inspiring and they can save so much time.
Exactly. Even if we dive deeper in the examples, there one I get the right to share it. During one table, there was a problem that was described. I get problem with my boss. Some of the
Okay,
even
yeah.
from the problem definition perspective, it's so wide. It's hard to even work
Like
on
what
it.
kind of problem, right?
Yeah, but after this first minute, they
Yeah.
get to the ground where the problem was really my boss didn't read my emails.
Wow, so simple.
So simple. So from a wide problem to very narrow one.
Yeah.
And during this meeting, one of the person was already Olympics, sports swimmer.
Wow. Okay.
And she shared that the knowledge that the knowledge and the experience that she get from her trainer. And that was that. And this method that came from the sports was used by the first person with the problem. I got problem with my boss to improve and solve the problem.
That's amazing. So a totally different area of life, totally different perspective helped to solve a problem.
Different perspective, different experience, the diversity.
That's great. Yeah, diversity that comes up quite often, and I think that's like a core value in the application because you mentioned the groups are selected based on diversity, on different perspectives, and that's the value that that kind of drives the whole application, the whole meetings.
Exactly.
That's great. Cool. I like it. I mean, the more I hear about it, the more excited I get to actually participate because there will be a chance to participate.
There will be a chance.
Yes. Would you like to invite maybe our audience to our Coffee Ideas session and tell us when it's going to happen and where?
In the November in the Lisbon, there is going to be a web summit, very known and very insightful event. And during this event, a side event will be organized by us, by Invedo. And during this event, we will use the Coffideas to do the good, inspiring networking session. Feel invited.
Feel invited. I hope we can probably link somewhere the invitations, so you can also participate if you'd like to. And I feel excited after getting to know more about Coffideas. I hope you are feeling excited too. So see you in Lisbon, hopefully. Thank you so much, Dominique, for our conversation today. And I hope we will have a chance to record third, maybe fourth, and more episodes of podcast.
Definitely.
Because it's a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.